Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. On this channel we post writing tips, unboxings, book hauls, book reviews and the occasional vlog. And today I have another writing tips video for you, and we are going to be discussing Planting and Payoff. Before we get into that, don't forget, if you like what you see, to subscribe to this channel. Your continuous support means a lot, so thank you guys so much. What is Planting and Payoff? Planting and Payoff is the idea that if you mention the gun on the wall, then at some point in your story you have to use that gun. A good example of that exact procedure is in Shaun of the Dead, where it is pointed out very early on that there is a gun on the wall of the pub, and then later during the zombie apocalypse that gun is then used. In today's video we're going to use Nightmare Alley, a film that came out in 2021, which just is perfect for showing Planting and Payoff. If you guys haven't seen that film, I do recommend watching it. Currently in the UK it is on Disney+, but I'm sure it's also available on many other streaming services and in DVD format. I know I'm going to butcher the name, but Nightmare Alley is by Guillermo del Toro. They are a fantastic director. They've done so many films and they are always pristine. But this one in particular is just really good at Planting and Payoff. It is, I would say, a dark comedy. Me and Matt found it very funny. Other people would probably find it quite dramatic and not funny. So just be ready to watch it. But how does this film show Planting and Payoff? First of all, the very structure of the film itself is a full circle. You start at the point where the main protagonist is going to the circus. They need a job, they need money, they need to start afresh, and the film goes in a full circle, so they end up doing the same thing again. At the end of the film they are back at a circus looking for a job and they need a restart. This ultimately means that the very beginning of the movie is foreshadowing the very end of the movie. At the beginning of the movie the protagonist judges and pities the drunken men who are in the cage, and at the end it's themselves, which the character themselves do laugh about in a very sad way. The character ultimately starts life as someone who learns what a geek is, and by the end of the movie they end up one themselves. This is by far the biggest Planting and Payoff in the entire film, but there's a whole circle in there. So how did our protagonist get from starting a new life in the circus to ending up being the geek and the person that they pitied at the very beginning? And how many different Planting and Payoffs are there throughout the film? Because believe me, there's a lot. Another point that Del Toro tells you that this is going to happen to the character is partway through. Our protagonist is explained how a geek is found, how they get a geek, and the exact wording of that description of a geek and how the circus gets them is used again at the end of the film when the protagonist is being convinced to be a geek in the new circus. Another point which plays a massive relevance in this film and definitely follows the Planting and Payoff is alcoholism. At the beginning of the film, our protagonist is fully against alcohol. Their mentor, teacher character within the movie dies from alcoholism. And there's not just that they die of alcoholism either. There is a little nugget planted there where the red bottles are okay and the blue bottles are not. And you need to rewatch it multiple times to work this out. I am positive that our protagonist gave the wrong bottle to their mentor and teacher. But the film does not tell you that. It does not clarify that. It shows you that only. Which makes you need to watch it again just to see if your eyes were playing tricks on you. Did they choose the wrong bottle? After this point, the protagonist remains completely teetotal. They do not want to touch alcohol. However, you know that the downward spiral for our protagonist happens when they finally do touch alcohol with the therapist, who ends up being a bit of a traitor. This also foreshadows and tells you that the therapist is not a good idea before they actually betray our protagonist. Another part of this circular structure is money. Our protagonist begins this movie with no money. They gain so much money, and then the end of the film they once again have no money. This is again Planting and Payoff. Everything that happens in this film you are shown. It is foreshadowed, and this is ultimately what Planting and Payoff does. Our protagonists themselves also shows this ability of planting and payoff with the police officer. And at the same time, Del Toro, through the protagonist, is encouraging the audience watching the film to use their observation skills to work it out. With the police officer, the childhood marred by disease is shown by the shoes that the protagonist wears, his name by the warrant that our protagonist sees, and the cross at their chest showing their partner's name. Our protagonist literally goes through this with the audience. So using that ability, you should use that throughout the entire movie. Another film that you should watch, which shows planting and payoff superbly, is Saltburn. Oh my gosh, that movie. That is a movie where you think, yeah, they could go, they're not going to, oh, they're gonna go there. Fantastic film, again, quite dark, hilarious. I highly recommend. In terms of authors who are very good at planting and payoff, I would recommend, of course, Terry Pratchett, Erin Morgenstern, Lisa C., Antonia Hodgson, and Agatha Christie. Planting and payoff should be used in basically all of your work. The most obvious work that it is shown in as a reader is murder mysteries, because they rely so heavily on planting and payoff. Without planting and payoff, your murder mystery will undoubtedly flop. However, it doesn't just have to be used in these scenarios, it should be used in all of your writing. If a story is missing planting and payoff, this is where you get reviews where people are confused by the story, where the characters' actions don't make sense, where the reader feels disconnected because it's like a slap in the face. If you have used planting and payoff correctly, then it should feel like a slap. It should feel like a slap, but understandable. When it happens, the audience reaction should be, oh, okay. Not a, what the fuck? That makes no sense at all. The character would do that. Where the hell's that come from? It is a fine balance, but as long as you plant the foreshadowing, the idea that it's going to come, then make the payoff worth it, then it will work well. And that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoy what you see. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you'd like to see as soon as I upload, click that little bell down below. You can also follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Tumblr. I post my bookish pictures as well as my writing tips and unboxings on there. If you guys have any further tips for planting and payoff, please do comment down below if there are any movies or books that you would highly recommend that also show this well. I do know Mad Max is one of them also. Then do comment those down below. Also, if you have any further questions on this, let us know below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!